We're now going to move to our fireside chat of the day. It's a very interesting one. I'm very excited to have the Chief Executive Officers of Home Instead and Honor, Jeff Huber and Seth Sternberg, take time out of their busy schedules to be with us. Led by Melissa Gong Mitchell, Executive Director of the Global Coalition on Aging, this fireside chat will focus on the partnership Home Instead and Honor has forged this year to combine the best in professional home care and home care technology to scale and transform care, not just in the United States, but around the world. So with that, let's start this panel. Thank you very much, Melissa and Jeff and Seth.
Hello, my name is Melissa Gong Mitchell. I'm Executive Director of the Global Coalition on Aging, and I'm honored to facilitate this session here at Lausanne VIII. Thank you so much to the organizers, the Global CEOI Initiative on Alzheimer's Disease, the OECD, Alzheimer's Disease International, and the World Economic Forum, four fantastic partners that GCOA has had the pleasure to work with many times over the years. I'd like to welcome our audience to today's session, High Tech Meets High Touch, the future of professional home care. This is a great fireside chat with Jeff Huber and Seth Sternberg. Jeff is CEO of Home Instead, the global leader in home care services and relationship-based care. And Seth is co-founder and CEO of Honor Technologies, Inc., the leading home care technology and operations platform. Together, they are mapping an exciting new outlook on the future of caregiving, which is particularly promising for those of us advancing solutions for those with Alzheimer's and other dementias and their caregivers. So I want to dig right into the topic that we're here to talk about today, the transforming of the care sector. So Seth and Jeff, you recently announced that Home Instead and Honor have combined forces to bring together the best in person-centered relationship-based care at Home Instead with the best technology platform in the care field from Honor. Can each of you describe this external transformation and tell us why now is the time for this partnership? And as you answer this question, just give us a little insight into what this transformation means for the future of professional caregiving and for families and their loved ones and those who are at risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. A big question to kick us off, but Jeff, you want to start?
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. So nice to be with you, and thank you for hosting this important event, and we're glad to be here. You know, for nearly 3 decades now, Home Instead has been on a mission to change the face of aging. And when we were in our discovery process with Honor, we learned that they had a similar mission, and that was to change the way we care for our parents. And so one of the really exciting things about this incredible union is that both companies feel a very deep leadership imperative to create a better future for how we age and how we care for our aging loved ones. And so that's been at the core of our success over time. And you know, we recognized years ago that it was only a matter of whether and not if that technology was going to play an increasingly important role in the delivery of care. So we were on our own internal digital transformation to try to create new tools and capabilities that would allow us to, you know, deliver the kind of relationship-based care, but in a better, more enhanced way. And so I think by bringing these two companies together, we get to accelerate that at a much faster rate, and you know, go really big and global. Home Instead already has a global footprint that now we get to just enable with, you know, tech enabled services and abilities and capabilities that are going to allow us to have a much bigger impact than we've ever had before and do it much faster.
Yeah, and so
tell us how that's happening. Yep, sorry, go ahead, Seth. Tell us how it's happening.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me, and Jeff, really appreciate it. And you know, what's really exciting is when you take the scale of Home Instead's network and you embed into it literally the most advanced technology and operations platform around caring for older adults, you can really transform the care that people receive. And a big part of how we transform that care is really looking at the care professionals and ensuring that we put them in the right situation and in the right home for them. So relevant to what we're all here to talk about today, if you have a customer who has, mid-stage dementia or late-stage dementia, we can ensure that we have the right care professional there for them to work with them in their needs. And also with the technology platform, you can both reduce the rate at which care professionals churn, right, which increases consistency with a given client. And if you can increase that consistency with a client, it's a particularly important thing for folks with dementia, right? So the technology platform creates better jobs, which then reduces churn, which then instantiates better care for folks, especially folks who need really consistent care.
Yeah, and I don't think that's quite obvious to everyone how important that back end efficiency is to ensure that people can get the care that they need, right? We often think about, okay, how on the front end are sensors and, other pieces of technology, telehealth really helping us, but it's that back end that you've done so well at Honor. I think that's really exciting, Seth. So I think we're really excited to learn more about that both today and in the coming weeks and months. And you both hit on how this gives us the ability to scale and how we can move, Jeff, you said, go big and go global and really accelerate. So over the course of this conference, we know one of the focus areas is around scaling tools and technologies and systems if we are to stop Alzheimer's. So it's because it's a pandemic. It is one of the greatest health, economic, and social crises of this century. So in terms of scaling, what is your vision? We know this can't happen overnight, but we know it can happen really fast with technology. So what's your combined vision for how we leverage this best of technology and the best of human talent to scale around the world, particularly as you're looking at rapidly aging markets like Japan, which is super aging, and across Europe, markets that Home Instead is in currently?
Melissa, I think the focus of the conference on scaling solutions is absolutely perfect because, as we all know so well, just the demographic shift that's about to really enter the highest healthcare usage years globally. And so we need solutions that can scale. And so we've been saying that care for folks at home is the only scalable solution. As we look at 500 million people around the world, who the leading edge of which is about to enter their early 80s. And of course, we know, the trends with dementia with that population. So home needs to be the main locus of care. And that really coincides very well with, just about every study that's been done on this topic, including our own internal research that shows that everybody wants to live and age at home by far and away, 90% or more. And when it comes to dementia in particular, it's a highly effective place because it's familiar surroundings. Routines are important, as Seth mentioned, making sure there's consistency. And so by having a technology platform that enables a better caregiver, care pro experience to provide that consistency, provide those routines, and give people peace of mind and comfort in the safety and security of their home where they want to be. That's the ultimate vision for us, to be able to do that on a large scale basis, use technology to enable more of that care at home, because right now it's badly needed.
And one of the things I'd say that's really exciting that you can do is if you take, so right now, globally, we have this issue that we tend to treat different geographic places in different ways, just naturally because they're run by different people, right? With kind of a human system locally. So even within a given country, like the way care is provided in Geneva, for example, might be reasonably different than the way care is provided in Zurich. And with a technology platform, what it allows you to do is make that care completely consistent across geographies, right? So what we're doing together is we're taking the Honor Technology and Operations system and embedding it throughout the Home Instead network, so that the Home Instead network becomes completely consistent across all the geographies, which include Switzerland, and include the United Kingdom, include the United States, and multiple other countries. And ultimately, once we're able to do that, the care that folks will receive across all those geographies will be completely consistent, right? And of completely high quality. And importantly, we can then innovate from the core, right? So we can say, you know what, like there's this thing that we've realized, the latest research says we have to do this to better care for people with, late stage dementia. We could then push that change in how we care for people from the core out into all of the geographies basically overnight, right? And that's really exciting when you realize you can have that kind of impact with technology across the world very quickly.
Well, and Melissa, I would add that our experience is, from 1,200 locations around the world, is an individual office has limited capacity. It's a very complex thing to make sure that you're getting the right caregiver in the right home with the right skills, great match, right time, all the things that go into creating a fantastic care experience. It's a very complex equation. And because of that, and a local office can only get to a certain level of scale. And what technology should allow us to do is to take a lot of that back end work and expand our capacity. So we talk a lot about the ability using technology to expand our capacity, not to replace the care that we provide, but to enhance it, supplement it, and ultimately allow us to provide a much larger, more expanded care experience.
And I think what is exciting at that is when you look at the types of care that's needed, because when you use that technology and you get a sense of what is needed at different points in time, Alzheimer's disease, other dementias are clearly very complicated situations, and each case varies. So can you describe from, how do you see that from an Alzheimer's point of view? You've got the human care and the technology is really enhancing that, but how important, how integrated is that professional care aided by technology, keeping individuals in the home? How is that really going to help on the front end, really in preventing disease, preventing isolation, preventing acute care events for those with Alzheimer's and others? Because I think it's because we know it's going to be tailored, but we're using technology to make sure it's scaled.
So the technology is really there to enhance how the care professional performs in a home. Right? It's not there to replace that care professional, but it's there to make sure, for example, do they have a really comprehensive care plan? Right? Did they know a lot about that client before they ever walked into that home? So one of the things that you find in home care today is care professionals will tell you, I walked in, but I felt blind. I didn't know what was going to be behind the door. And that's a particularly bad experience for a customer with dementia. So in a technology-enabled world, how would you make that care professional better when they pull up to that house that they're about to walk into? Well, the first thing you might do is have the app remind the care pro when they're looking at the care plan, like, this person has dementia. Don't forget to wear your name tag. Don't forget to identify yourself, right? Something as basic as that. And then another thing that we recently pushed in the technology platform, again, just to make the care professionals better, right? Like better human service, is we started asking our care professionals to tell us what parts of the care plan needed to be changed, right? What was outdated, what needed to be updated. So we're using the care professionals truly as care professionals to be the eyes and ears out there and tell us how to enhance people's care. And as we turned that feature on, we saw that other care professionals' engagement rate with the plan increased because the plan became more relevant and more contemporary with the needs of those customers. So the technology is not about replacing the humans. It's not about replacing the care professional, but it is about making that care professional better, smarter, more appropriate, more consistent for that home.
And it sounds like it's really improving the continuity of care, which of course is really critical for a person living with Alzheimer's disease, right? So this, I guess the question as well. So even if you're not able to have that same caregiver, which is really important for people who are living with Alzheimer's disease, you can have all of the information that's there to ensure that you have the best continuity of care. Is that what you're describing?
Literally both. So the technology can both do a much better job of making sure that you have the same care professional as much as possible by doing things like reducing churn rates, right? Churn rates in home care are very high in terms of the number of care pros who leave a year. Let's reduce it, right? Or increasing the consistency with which a care pro goes to their assigned appointments. Turns out technology can do that too. At the same time, it's not always possible. If someone has 24/7 care, Of course, they have multiple care professionals serving them. You want the next care professional walking into that home to know what happened prior. And the technology can help with that too. So we can do both.
Great. This is very exciting. And one of the things I always think about when we're talking about care for older people, particularly people with Alzheimer's disease, what are the knock-on effects for the family caregivers? And, Jeff, you've been in this space for a long time. Seth, you've really been innovating this technology. What have you seen in terms of how this combination is going to help improve the lives of those family caregivers as well?
Well, for us, it's we've always been about putting our professional caregiver at the center of our business model, and knowing that if we did a great job of treating them as our first and most important client, then they would provide a better overall care experience. And so, years ago, we made the very conscious decision from the very start that we were going to create a culture that allowed us to attract and retain the best and brightest in this industry, give them the tools to be successful, set them up for success, give them the training that they needed, and an ongoing career path so that they could grow in this area. And so when a big part of our discovery process with Honor was to learn that they really put the professional caregiver at the center of their business model as well, which really was very exciting for us. But I think the time is now where we have to look outside our individual companies, and we have this important moment in time where we need to really create a transformation around the professional caregiving profession in general. So we need, to create a pipeline of very well educated, trained, and most importantly, compensated and well-regarded profession to really meet the needs of our aging society. And so we've put a stake in the ground to do that. The time is ripe for this too, coming out of the pandemic, and the displacement of so many people in the labor force, the displacement of so many people because of the automation that's happening across industries, that we can really create this pipeline. So it really comes. We published a report, Caregiving Workforce for the Future. It's about really changing the perception of the caregiving profession. So it's really truly appreciated for the value that it brings, because we know when we have a professional caregiver in that home, our clients are going to enjoy better outcomes, drive down costs, higher quality of life, not just for the client, but to your point, to their family members as well. We want to really standardize training and education so that we can ensure consistency across all markets and provide accountability. And then we want to support and reward caregivers that really to a level that's commensurate with the demands of the job and the value that they offer.
And so that all creates a dramatically better home care experience for both the older adult who we're caring for and the family caregivers. And then when we think about the family caregivers, what we're thinking is, okay, how can we both obviously create better care, right, and give them more appropriate care professionals, but also how can we create more transparency for them, right? How can we let them see this is what's happening with mom, this is who's taking care of mom, so that it's not a black box that creates a lot of fear, but rather a lot of information, and even information that folks normally don't get, like a wellness check where we have the care professional ask a customer, hey, what's your pain threshold today? How many meals have you had in the last 24 hours? Are you happy or sad today? And all that information goes to the family caregivers in order to give them more visibility on what's happening in their home.
Yeah, the very best thing we can do is provide a great care experience for the client so that the family member can focus on their job of being that daughter, that son, and giving them the peace of mind. So that's really at the heart of the strategy.
Yeah, and I think that's what this is all about, is right. It's like making sure you balance what those caregiving responsibilities are, because we're all in some way, shape, or form a caregiver. We're going to be a caregiver for an aging loved one, whether that's a grandparent, a parent, a spouse, and we're all going to have this this experience. It is a human experience that we'll all encounter. So I think that starting and having your focus on the workforce, how we make it better, focusing on the work that you're doing. And Jeff, we were together, Home Instead, GCOA, and the OECD were together just last week, focusing on this caregiving workforce of the future. We had 23 countries represented there. So we know that this is a critical issue, and we're so excited that both of you have come together to work on what the solutions might be. So just sort of in closing, I want to say thanks to both of you for sharing what your vision is and why that's so important for those of us within this community. And if there's anything else you want to add, just sort of as a last minute, sort of what can we expect to see and hear from Home Instead and Honor over the coming weeks and months, because we'll certainly make sure that everyone here stays updated.
Well, thanks for all the great work that you and others are doing. We need to find a cure for Alzheimer's disease or some major intervention that puts us on a much better trajectory. We know all the great work that's going on there. We work really hard to support those organizations to help with that. But until we have a cure, there is care, and that's where Seth and I are really dedicating our organization and our lives to really enhancing a better care experience and really completely revolutionizing and expanding the way that we can care and at scale all around the globe, people who are living with Alzheimer's and support their families.
And what I'm pretty excited about is if we take the scale of Home Instead's amazing network and we embed a technology and operations capability into it so that we can drive real innovation throughout that network and consistency, then we'll start to be able to just care for people in an even more deeper way and really start to go beyond ADL supports into other areas that really drive friction for people or difficulty for people and simply keep improving people's lives. I think that's pretty exciting. So there's a lot more to come.
It's really exciting. Thank you both. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Seth, for your passion and your commitment and your leadership. We look for more great things to come. Thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Melissa, Jeff, and Seth, for that discussion, which, quite frankly, for me, brought me back to why we are trying to do what we do, and that is to provide a better experience for those at risk or with this disease. It's very much a human-based response and drive on the part of all of those of us who were involved in this event, but also in the Davos Alzheimer's Collaborative. Also fascinating to me, the extent to which technology is infusing virtually everything we talked about today in terms of tools and systems, the scaling challenges, as well as the scaling opportunities. From the 200% penetration of cell phones in Malaysia to bringing a better care experience to people in their homes around the world. So this notion of using new tools and new technologies and new systems at scale around the world is a high driver for us, and I'm confident for everyone on this phone.